Have you ever wondered why suffering sometimes comes to people who try to live faithfully? Why trials appear in the lives of those who seek to do what is right? Why faith is sometimes tested in the quietest and most painful ways? The Bible holds a story that speaks deeply to this mystery. A story not only about suffering, but about faith in the middle of suffering. It is the story of Job. And the story begins with peace. Job was known as a man of integrity. He lived honestly. He respected God. He treated people with kindness. He cared for his family. He prayed for his children. He helped those in need. His life was full. He had many servants, large herds of animals, a home filled with laughter, 7 sons, 3 daughters, a household alive with celebration and everyday joy. And people around him respected him deeply, because Job was not only wealthy, he was wise, he was generous, he was faithful. But sometimes the greatest faith is revealed not in comfort, but in testing. One day, a series of disasters struck Job's life. Not slowly, but suddenly. A messenger came running. Raiders had attacked. His oxen and donkeys were taken. Before Job could even speak, another messenger arrived. Fire had fallen from the sky and consumed the sheep. Then another. More raiders had come and carried away the camels. Servants were lost. The wealth that once surrounded Job disappeared in a moment. And still the storm was not finished. The most painful message had yet to come. Another servant approached with trembling words. A strong wind had struck the house where Job's children were gathered. The house collapsed, and all 10 of his children were gone. Imagine that silence. Imagine that moment when a father hears that every child he loved has disappeared in a single day. The world can become very quiet in moments like this. Very still, very heavy. And yet Job did something that still echoes through history. He fell to the ground. Not in anger, not in rage, but in humility. And he said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Even in grief, he did not turn away from God. Even in loss, his faith remained. But the trials of Job were not finished. Soon, his own body became the place of suffering. Painful sores covered him, from his head to his feet. He sat in ashes outside the city. The man who once led a household now sat alone in dust and silence. People passed by. Some looked with pity. Others looked with confusion. Even those closest to him struggled to understand. His friends came to sit with him. At first, they said nothing. For 7 days, they simply sat beside him, because sometimes pain is so deep that words feel too small. But eventually they began to speak, and their words were not gentle. They believed suffering must be punishment. They believed pain must mean guilt. Again and again they said, "Surely you must have done something wrong." But Job knew his heart. He knew he had tried to live with integrity. And so Job did something many people are afraid to do. He spoke honestly to God. He did not pretend the pain was small. He did not hide his confusion. He asked questions, deep questions. Questions that rise from the heart when life becomes difficult. Why? How long? Where are you in this silence? And this is something important to remember. Faith does not mean never asking questions. Faith does not mean never feeling pain. Sometimes faith looks like waiting. Sometimes faith looks like speaking honestly through tears. Sometimes faith looks like holding on even when understanding has not yet arrived. My child, the story of Job teaches something profound. Faith is not proven when life is easy. Faith is proven when life becomes uncertain. Faith is proven when blessings seem distant. Faith is proven when the night feels long. Because in those moments, a person must decide, will I trust even when I do not understand? Will I remain faithful even when the road is dark? Time passed. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And still, the silence continued. But silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence means something is unfolding beyond human sight. And finally, God spoke. Not with accusation, not with condemnation, but with power. God reminded Job that the universe is vast, that wisdom runs deeper than human knowledge, that the Creator sees the beginning and the end of every story. Job listened, and slowly his heart softened again. He realized that even when he did not understand, God was still present. And after the long season of testing, something beautiful happened. Restoration. Peace returned. Joy returned. Hope returned. Job's life began again. His family grew once more. New sons, new daughters, new blessings. And the Bible tells us that Job's later years were even more blessed than the years before. Not because suffering is good, but because suffering is not the final chapter. Because faith can carry a person through the darkest valley. And on the other side, there can still be light. My child, if your heart feels heavy today, remember the story of Job. The chapter you are living in is not the whole story. The silence you feel is not abandonment. The waiting you experience is not the end. Sometimes faith grows in hidden places. Sometimes strength forms in quiet seasons. Sometimes The hardest chapters prepare the deepest restoration. The same God who saw Job's suffering still sees every heart today. He sees the tears no one else notices. He hears the prayers spoken in quiet rooms. And he remembers every soul that continues believing even when the path is unclear. So if this message brought peace to your heart, take a quiet moment now. Like this video so that someone else who feels alone tonight may also hear these words. Subscribe to this channel and walk with us in wisdom, faith, and hope. Because sometimes a single quiet message can become a light in someone's darkest hour. And remember this truth: even in the middle of suffering, faith can still rise. And where faith remains, hope is never truly lost.